Have you started it? If we just get started, we'll be okay. Do we look okay or we look like a couple of schmoes?
Probably look like schmoes. Hey, what's up everybody? It is Daniel Keaton here. I'm your local realtor, and with...
I'm Alan Price, and I'm a realtor as well. I work with Daniel Keaton.
Yes, and we are with Newman & Dunn Real Estate here in the West End of Richmond. We work in Central Virginia. Today, we want to speak about first-time home buying. So if you've never bought a house, we're talking to you. We love working with first-time home buyers, and we want to give you guys 5 tips. We'll get to that about buying your first house. But Alan, why do you like working with first-time home buyers?
I love first-time home buyers because it's a very exciting time for them, and it's something that to me is more fun. They really enjoy it. They're, like I said, they're not buying their 5th home, although I do like folks that buy 2nd, 3rd, and 4th homes. But first-time home buyers, everything's like a new discovery. And it's just fun to like see them sort of go from this down to this and say, you know what, I don't need this, I don't need that, but I think I'll need all these things. And it's just a nice process. And I like to see, usually first-time home buyers are just so happy to have their home because you're getting out of a rental situation. That right there, of course, as we all know, is you're throwing money down the toilet. Yeah. So once you get in, to me, it's very satisfying to see that all of a sudden they have the tax write-off, they have the home of their choice, they can fix their own toilet, paint their own walls, and it's all theirs. It's
theirs. That's the best part about it. Yeah, it brings me back to buying my first house. I think it was maybe 10 years ago. Back when I had no money and I was depending on my wife. So really, she bought the house. But it was very exciting. And so when I'm helping other people buy their first house, I think back to that time and it is exciting. You're thinking about, oh my goodness, I'm owning a home. But along with that, I remember the anticipation and the fear of, oh my goodness, I'm looking at this huge mortgage and, you know, I got to pay how much for 30 years? And like, so that was kind of scary. So I like the part of kind of guiding people through that and like calming their fears. Like, look, it's going to be okay. You're, you know, one of many people doing the same thing, and it's a good investment. It is good for you. You're going to, you know, thank me years down the road. You know, I heard somebody say the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best time is today. So I could equate that to buying a house. So the best time to invest is today.
And also the fact that you can also learn from our mistakes. That's what I like to do, is pass along, like, let's not do this because I remember when. And I can tell you an example. My first home that I bought with my wife, we'd just been married for about a year. We walked into the home. We were all excited. And there was no washer, no dryer, no refrigerator. And I just said, honey, what's it? And she said, oh, that's not included, I guess. I don't know. We had no idea.
Yeah.
Bottom line was that, of course, my mom and dad always supplied that stuff.
Yeah.
But then all of a sudden I had to go out and spend $3 grand on a washer, dryer, refrigerator. The realtor never said a word about those not conveying. To me, in my mind, I thought they should be included.
Yeah.
They were not. And that kind of ticked me off, but it was what it was. And we bought the house, and it had the extra expense. So the lack of surprises is a big thing with us. We don't like you to have surprises like that. There's lots of little things like that that you need to know, and we will make sure that you know as you go through the process of buying your first home.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's a lot of fun. All right, so we're going to get into it. We're going to give 5 tips for first-time home buyers. You guys ready for this? 5 tips. Okay, I'm going to build up the anticipation. 5. Wait,
we'll
5, 4 backwards. Okay. Number 5. No, number 1. Find a good loan officer. Why is that important?
Well, a good loan officer will give you the straight poop, so to speak, let you know exactly what you need to know. But more importantly, tailor your loan so it fits your needs. Everybody has different incomes and different needs and different situations. You know, you've been saving money and putting it together. A good realtor or good lender is going to actually say, hey, here's the best program for you. And also let you have a couple of programs to choose from so you can actually see on paper, this looks best for me, but I kind of like this one as well. So it's a very important part of the process, isn't it?
How would you tell somebody to find one? What's a good way to find and know that you found a good loan officer?
Well, for one, we have great loan officers that we vetted and have worked with for years, so we can start with that. But within the first 21 days or so, when you're looking for a loan, you don't have to worry about your credit being, you know, chopped down to size. The 3 tri-merge credit companies already know that you must be out shopping for a loan. shop for it. Go to 2 or 3 different places. If you go to one guy and say, thanks very much, get his list of expenses. Take that to the next lender. This is what I always suggest. Say, can you beat any of this? Or can you tell me what's going on? That person will look at it and go to a third if you like. But the bottom line is that all these guys work to try to get your business, and it's all about dollars and cents. And one guy will try to beat the other. If the guy's honest enough, guy B, so to speak, and he cannot beat guy A, then he'll tell you, maybe guy A is that way. And actually the lenders I'm thinking about, and I think they're the same one as you are, do that. They say, I can't beat that deal.
They'll be honest with you.
That's right. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, and they'll go through all the numbers with you, because with lending, what I learned when I came into real estate business, there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, with interest rates and closing costs. And one person will say, we've got the best interest rate. Some people say we have no closing costs. You say, well, how does all this work? It's, it's a give and take, right, on each one of those. Another question I like to ask loan officers is, do you work on the weekends? If I got to, if I'm buying a house and I need a pre-approval letter on a Saturday, are you going to get that to me, or you going to wait till Monday? A lot of lenders won't do that, right? I mean, a lot of them will say, I'm 9 to 5 and I'm done.
Nothing worse, because you're probably going to end up buying your house on a Saturday or Sunday. If you're buying on Tuesday, that's fine with us. But Saturday, Sunday is when most of these deals happen. You got to have your lender available. And once again, the guys that we work with, people we work with, they're usually available almost 24/7.
Yeah, and everybody I've vetted and chosen to work with over time, because we as realtors, we're working for our buyers all the time. Saturday, Sunday afternoons, or whatever. I've written deals at 11 o'clock at night, and so I expect other people I'm working with to give that same kind of service. And we're, as realtors and lenders, we're so closely tied to each other, right? Like we work, we can't work without each other. So, that's a question to ask a loan officer as you sit down with someone and you say, Mr. or Mrs., do you work on the weekends? If I email you or call you, you can call me back on Sunday. So that's an important question.
Yeah, very important. Do you work when I don't?
Yeah.
That's what you need to find out. Because if you're a 9 to 5 person, then your lender's 9 to 5. When are you going to get something done?
Exactly.
So that's an extremely important step. Then you get what's called the letter, the pre-approval letter, that says, okay, Bob, you have a letter here. Looks like you qualify for up to $250,000. Terrific. What's my monthly payment going to be? Well, it depends on the house, of course. There's lots of factors, but the bottom line is $250 might be a little high for you. That's why the next step would be to get a realtor.
Yes, yeah. Step number 2, find a good realtor, right? Of course we're going to say that. I mean, we are realtors, so we're a little bit biased to that.
And we're going to say that we're the only realtors you should hire.
Exactly.
But anyway, go ahead.
And you could also interchange step 1 and 2. Right. We probably should have said that. Find a good realtor first. But anyway,
that's right.
So find a good realtor. Why is that important, Alan?
Well, once again, they can actually help you with all that process of the lender. Then at that point, they can actually help you figure out what it is that you really want, what kind of home you want, but what are the exact situations in the home, or the wherewithal of the home that you want. How many bedrooms, how many baths? Get that. Sit down with your realtor, and he'll have a little pad of paper, whatever, and write down all your thoughts. I've got to have a fireplace. I've got to have an in-ground pool. You'll find out that once you get all this list on there, that's what he'll look for, she will look for, is specific. What school district? Is there a specific area there? Or just even a specific neighborhood you want to live? Near your mother? All those questions can be answered very easily by a good real estate agent.
Yeah, and I think vetting a good realtor. I mean, maybe some people are watching this and they're in California. I'm sorry, Alan and I are not licensed in California, so I hate to disappoint you. But you're looking for a good...
If the house realtor is expensive enough, we'll get our license.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I will look it up online. You're looking for a good realtor. You want to find somebody that's experienced. I mean, that's very important because this is a big investment. This is a really big. So you want somebody that has been through that process. I know when I'm working with first-time home buyers, a big thing for them is knowing what's the next step. Like, what do I do next, and what does step 10 look like? And I bought several houses myself, so I can take for granted pretty easily sometimes that I flow through the process. But if you're doing this for the first time, you want to know, what does this big picture process look like? What have I got to do to get from today when I'm thinking about buying a house to I'm opening the door on closing day, right? So in finding a good finding a good realtor will guide you through that process because they've been through it many times, right? And you want to interview people. You want to ask them, maybe how many deals have you done? What are some challenges that you have, or what areas that you work? Do they work in the area that you want to be? These are the kind of questions that you can have for your realtor. But experience is key when you're looking for a good realtor. Have they been through the fire, so to speak? Have they seen all these challenges? Because every deal comes with its own unique set of challenges, right?
Well, that's right. Also, I think that a key word is patience. You are a first-time home buyer. You should never feel like you're being cornered or pushed into buying a particular home. There are agents out there that will say, okay, we have shown you 3 houses. Which one do you want? That might not work out so well.
Yeah.
You might want to see 4 or 5 or more. The point is somebody that's got some patience.
Yeah.
Not that they all require it big time, but the bottom line is that eventually, like I said, a lot of agents might make you feel like, okay, you're pushing my patience here. You're pushing my time. It's really an important time for a person. To me, it's the most important with your first home, and then basically the empty nester people are very important as well. Everybody's important in between, but those are 2 huge landmark purchases, I think. And the first-time home buyer is the biggest. You're nervous. You want to get through these processes, the lender and your agent. Once you get through these 2 guys or people, women, you're going to find yourself a lot more relaxed. You got 2 people you trust, and just use your own common sense and say, I like both these folks. Now I'm ready to go ahead and look at some places.
Guiding you through the process,
That's
exactly.
Right.
And one thing I've found that a lot of first-time home buyers don't understand, and I didn't really understand it until I really got into the business 8 or 9 years ago, is there are often, most of the time, 2 agents involved in each deal. And why do you think, Alan, you don't want to go to the agent that is necessarily listing the house to buy it? Why do you need somebody as a buyer's agent?
Well, that person has already signed an agreement with the seller that basically there are 2 categories. There's client and there's customer. So the listing agent, the person that's actually representing the seller for a home that you like, is representing the seller already. So if you come aboard and say, hey, I'd like to go ahead and take a look at this home and purchase it through you, that's fine. He can do it. It's legal and everything's fine. The point is that he's going to give most of his interest and most of his allegiance to his seller because that's who he signed on with as his client. You'll be a customer, and that means he owes you honesty and integrity. However, there are some things he does not owe you, and there could be some secretive things that have happened or things he knows he does not have to share.
They don't have to disclose, exactly. And they're not going to negotiate for you, right?
That's the biggest thing.
Yeah, their legal liability, their duty, fiduciary duty is to the seller. So, there's a scripture that says you can't serve 2 masters, right? So as a realtor, you can't serve the seller and the buyer equally well, right? So there is a thing called buyer's agency. And so when you're first time home buying a house, you need to find someone who is working on your behalf as a buyer's agent, not working for the seller, right?
That's right.
You need that separation there.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah. All right. So 3. This is a big one. Know your expenses. Know your expenses. Why is it important to know your expenses, Alan?
There's a lot of them. And you can find out, once again, when you go to that lender process, you can find out what your down payment expenses can be. There's so many different kinds of loans. There actually are 0 down loans. So you can find out about those, especially for first-time home buyers, or if you were in the military, or you find a USDA product. Again, we don't want to get into that now. The point is that's where you can start. Then you can find out what your expenses will be as you go. Both the lender and the agent will give you all the expenses. The lender will give you the expenses as far as your closing costs are concerned and how much it'll cost you to actually get the house. But the agent can help you with all of the inspection costs and HOA costs or whatever else might come down the pipe.
Yeah. When I started 8 or 9 years ago in the business, and there was no such thing at that time as 100% financing loans. Like the lowest you could put down was 3.5% or 5%, and then a couple years later, these loans came back, but they were around before that time, right? Before the market kind of crashed.
Right.
But nowadays, there's lots of first-time home buyer loans where you really don't have to have any money down. So I'm working with a client right now. He put a $1,000 check as a deposit on the house, and I said, look, we're going to negotiate all of the closing costs to be paid by the seller. So hopefully at the end of this thing, you get the $1,000 check back and you own a house. So it's pretty cool because it's kind of neat when you sign a paper and you buy a house and they give you money. That's kind of fun.
And the bummer about closing costs, they are there. They're not going to go away.
Yeah.
The bottom line, like Daniel said, is who's going to pay for them? Yeah. Me or the seller? And oftentimes we can arrange for the seller to pay for them. But closing costs range anywhere from $5,000 to as much as like $11,000, depending on the kind of loan that you have. I know it sounds daunting and like a lot of money, but for especially first-time home buyers, I would say a lot of sellers already have been primed to the idea that perhaps they have to shell out a little bit of money for some closing costs to sell their home, because most folks that are looking at that house might be first-time home buyers. Most of them just might need those closing costs paid for. So there's so many, but we'd like to do things incrementally. If we first sit down with you and tell you everything, it's all going to sort of become muddled. But as you go along, I like to, and so does Daniel, sort of prioritize and say, okay, now we're at this point. Here's what we need to know about, and here's what we need to think about, and here's what you need to know as far as expenses concerned.
Yeah, expenses are key. I mean, so not only expenses to take that it takes to purchase a house. But when you own the house, like you said earlier, all of a sudden now you have to paint the walls. Now you have to buy a fridge. Now you have to, pay for whatever that your landlord was paying for before. So those are crucial. So you have to think through all that stuff. You have to redo your budgets. I like to use the app mint.com for my budget. But have something somewhere written down to know your budgets, and then talk to your realtor and say, am I missing something here? What are my monthly expenses going to be? Do I have to pay an HOA fee? Do I need to save money for a new roof? I mean, anything you can think of. But there are new expenses, and you got to know those expenses when you're buying a house. That's very important, because you don't want to have surprises. Right?
Sure. And with a good agent, you shouldn't have to. You really probably won't have to come up with all those questions. The agent will come up with them for you and say, by the way, this home was built 1993. The first thing in my mind with a house built in the 90s is, how old's the HVAC, which is your heating and air conditioning? How old's the roof? Those are the two things that, if they've never been replaced in that 25-year period, probably need to be replaced really soon. Yeah. So when I show a house that age, I look at that. And by the way, getting just back to real fast to the washer, dryer, refrigerator deal that I first mentioned, washer, dryer, refrigerators are not automatically included with the sale of a home. That's why I brought it up. It has to be on the contract. So if you really want your washer, dryer, refrigerator, I think most first-time home buyers do, because you've been renting, you didn't have one there. So that's something that has to be talked about and put on the contract. And you could very likely end up getting whatever washer, dryer, refrigerator is included with the house.
Yeah, but about half the time you can negotiate it.
Yeah, at least, it depends. Yeah, but it's a terrific thing to do. And sometimes you just don't want the darn thing. Yeah, it's really gross.
Sometimes so we don't old and rusty, and you're like, please take it out of the house.
Exactly. You don't put it on the contract, that's telling them, please take it out of the house.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. All right, so number 4, we talked about this a little bit, but write down what you want in a home, so your agent, so your realtor can really know what you're looking for. What I like to do when I meet somebody for the first time, especially somebody buying a house for the first time, is have a sit-down talk. Like, it's, some agents will go out and say, well, let's meet at a house first. Now, I want to know you. Like, I want to get to know you and what you want, what your needs are, what your budget is. Do you want a fence? Do you want a pool? Do you not like being close to somebody? Do you want land? Whatever it is. And, understanding your terminology. For instance, some people say, well, I want some land. To one person, that means I want 50 acres. To another person, that means I want 2 acres. So what does it mean? What do you want, right? So write down everything that you want, so you can learn, so you can know what you're looking for in a house.
Plus, here we have free coffee, soda, and what else? Oh, and snacks. So you can come in here, you can be relaxed, you can sit back, sip on your coffee, and we can go over the whole process with you, and then go out and take a look like Daniel said.
And hot chocolate. I like hot chocolate.
Oh, we do like hot chocolate. Very good hot chocolate. We have a machine that makes all that stuff automatically. What's that called? Oh, Keurig. No, Keurig.
Keurig was a superhero or something.
That's right.
All right, number 5. Last thing. Figure out your timing. Your timing is crucial. Why is that important?
I guess if you're renting a property, you obviously have a lease. If your lease isn't over till July 31st, for example, then you want to time out your property that you're buying so you don't cross over payments, or at least you try to avoid it. So that's what the timing. I think most first-time home buyers anyway are probably renting. Yeah. Or you're at your mom's place, and she wants you out as soon as possible, obviously. So you just go ahead and you time it with that too.
Probably shared this video with you.
Exactly. How much more can your mother take? That's where your timing comes in.
Exactly. Yeah, and there's so many other timing factors. I mean, people's schedules fit around school schedules and holidays and like your lease or whatever it might be. So some people say, they ask me oftentimes, when should I start looking for a house? How far in advance should I start looking for a house? What would you say to somebody that asks that kind of question?
Oh, I would say at least 2 months. I mean, it takes, what do you say, at least 5 to 7 weeks on average to close a house.
To close the deal, yeah.
I mean, if you find a house today, it's going to take you 5 to 7 weeks on average to close in the house. That means that you own the home and you can move in. So with that process in mind, just keep that in mind. I think you'll be okay with it. And it can take you a couple of weeks to find the right house. Yeah. It'll take a month. But bottom line is that the whole process does take some time.
Yeah, it depends. What's the longest you've ever shown houses to a client?
Oh, I don't even want to talk about it because people get ideas. Or like 3 years. Please don't take that as an example. Actually, I showed 24 houses in one day. I held the record in my other office. My back was killing me, but I did it. And we showed 24 or 27 houses in one day, but they were out-of-town folks. We went to 4 counties. We saw every single kind of house. But today's that was years ago. This is a great time in our lives because now you have GPS. you have satellite, you have all kinds of photography and all kinds of pictures and so forth that you can look at.
Walkthrough tours.
Yeah. So you can actually get your first impression online from realtor.com or Zillow or the MLS, which we will set you up and is more accurate. We'll get to that in a second. But the bottom line is that you can see so much, you can really tell, like, oh, I look at the satellite here, it looks like it's backing up to this dog farm, or I see that this is happening over here, it's next to this horrible thing, or there's a 7-Eleven right here. The bottom line is you can actually do a lot of your homework, and then we can narrow it down to 5, 10 houses, whatever. But at that time, 15 years ago, we drive by houses going, this isn't going to work, and here's why. We don't have to do that any longer. So it's actually a pretty cool process to look ahead of time, and we'll look with you, of course.
So what is a dog farm?
It's a farm of dogs.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
A dog pound. Lots of dogs. Lots of dogs.
So this is, dog pounds.
Right.
Okay.
Lots and lots of dogs.
I think the longest I ever showed a house to somebody was 4 years, and we're still friends. That's the great thing. We came out of it.
It's difficult.
It goes back to finding a good agent, like Alan was talking about, somebody that's patient, right? Because if it's somebody, especially first time buying a house, you never want to push or be pushed to making a decision like that. And sometimes it takes years, but most people, it will take probably a month to 2 months, probably.
Depends on how eager you are.
Yeah, exactly. How eager or how picky you are. If you want a house that is pink, that is 1,732 square feet, that has 2.5 baths in this neighborhood, it's probably going to take you a long time to find something. But if you have
my house is pink, it's 1,732 square feet.
Yours. That's why I was
incredible, and it's for sale.
That's the one. But yeah, depending on how picky you are, or what's the opposite of word of picky? Picky.
Very accepting.
Accepting. Okay, yeah. So if if you're accepting of the house, or you can find them easier, right? You can find them nowadays. In our current market right now, the first-time home buyer house is kind of rare to find. It's like becoming a little.
Well, that kind of shifts with the seasons too. Like in the summertime and the springtime, that's when most of the houses are for sale.
They'll pop up,
and a lot of things go away in the fall and the summer and the wintertime. But that means also you can sometimes get better deals then, because there's fewer homes, but there's also fewer buyers. So. Once March, April, May rolls around, that's when things really start to heat up. But it's all about your timing.
Yep.
If your rent is over by the end of July, we'll do everything we can, or whatever month, we'll do everything we can to make sure that we appease that. And we'll work with you. We'll figure out, there's so many things we can do to rearrange a closing, to arrange for a rent back if you're selling a home, but to arrange for your, a month to month of the people that you're renting from. There's a lot of things you can do. We can always fix something, so nothing's set in concrete, basically, when it comes to your schedule or trying to go from one to the other. I like to have seamless transitions, as I'm sure Daniel does. We don't want to see you put out.
No.
So we'll do everything we have to do to make sure that you can go from here to here with no problem.
It's also important to figure out like a plan B too, because you never know, something else could happen. So I always talk to my clients and say, okay, I want to be in the house by this day. I'm moving out of my rental on this day. Okay, this is the plan. And in a perfect world, this is all that happens, right? But I always tell my clients, what are you going to do if this happens? What if the closing is delayed 2 weeks? Where are you going to go? Back to your mom's basement? She's probably like, no, they have to go somewhere else.
That's pretty bad. I'm sorry your mom's that way. But I would say that yes, you do have to have a plan B. There's no doubt about it. Things do happen that are out of our control, but we try to keep for you not to ever have any surprises.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. The surprise of not having a washer, dryer, refrigerator that I think about was a huge surprise. I didn't have $3,000 to buy that stuff, and you might not either. So those are the kinds of things we talk about with surprise. We try to minimize those.
Yeah. So you talked about a little bit about online search engines like Zillow and Trulia, which most people probably have heard of and are looking. So what would you say to somebody that is looking on realtor.com, Zillow right now, looking at homes? Why is it important to reach out to a professional in that world?
Well, we're responsible for putting in our listings and putting those into the multiple listing service, and we're responsible in a very tight way. The MLS and the RAR, which is the Richmond Association of Realtors, sort of keeps watch over, so make sure that everything's accurate. With Zillow and Trulia and the others, they're all fine, but it's not regulated. Yeah, and it's all done from a central location, so there's no one individual that's taking care of each listing. So ours is going to be more accurate. So sometimes some of the information that you get from Zillow, for example, isn't going to be 100%. Like it might not tell you that it's already under contract, meaning you can't buy it now, or might not tell you about the proper amount of bedrooms that's in the house. Might be a 4-bedroom when it's really a 5. So those kinds of things. But a real estate professional, yes, go to the multiple listing service and we'll get you the accurate information.
Accurate info. That's key. I had somebody call me one time and said, why is my house for sale on Zillow? my house is not for sale. And I was like, I don't own Zillow, so, but.
I don't know how much you want for it. So I never thought about it.
So, yeah. It's not accurate. So, again, we're regulated with our MLS listing. So somebody will say, well, I saw this listing on Zillow. It says, there's so many things that they use. The goal with Zillow is they want to put as much content on their website, so as many listings as possible so they can get you on there searching. So a lot of times we'll have listings like what they call pre-foreclosures, and those aren't actually for sale. They're not actually foreclosed. They subscribe to a service that tells them when someone's behind on their mortgage payments, which kind of sucks. They're telling the world that. But a lot of people are, look, well, I want to buy this house. If we went and knocked on this guy's door right now, he'd probably be pretty upset because it's not for sale. The point is, it's not accurate information. So.
That's right. Well, we'll get down to the bottom line with that. So did you really have somebody call you and say that why is my house for sale?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've had that happen. I had to go look. they weren't my client, but I was advertising on Zillow, and my face was
why are you selling my house? It was like, because it's really nice.
Yeah. Hey,
that's terrible.
I'm trying to help you out there, I guess.
Honey, we got to move. We got to move. Daniel said so. That's hilarious. I've never seen that before.
It's great. It's not accurate. So,
no.
But anyway, yeah, we had fun. We hope you guys enjoyed it. We hope that it was informative. This is the Real Virginia Living Show. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any other questions, just post them in the comments on this video. You can send us messages. We'll put our phone numbers out there. We like talking about real estate. We like talking to first-time home buyers. It's just fun, so we love to answer your questions.
Feel free to call or email anytime, and believe me, this is like a 24, well, not like 2 to 4 in the morning, but otherwise, it's like a 24/7 kind of business, and we're fine with that.
In the morning is cool.
That'll be just fine.
Yeah, 1:30 is
cool. So thanks for joining us. We'll see you again, and talk to you again about another topic that has to do with real estate in the near future.
Thanks, guys. Bye.